So these were some questions that I didn't get to at the most recent live or current live, so we're just going to answer them here. And Neo the Wise asks, good afternoon, Lynette. Have there been any changes in the taxation on selling precious metals? Is it wise to say that when that law passes, it would be a marker indicating an impending currency reset? What's actually changing in taxation on selling precious metals? Well, there's a couple different layers, right? There's the federal layer, and that's unchanged in the core structure. So capital gains treatments still apply. Physical gold and silver are still treated as collectibles. Well, not all of them, but for the most part, still treated as collectibles by the IRS, and that means that the gains can be taxed up to 28% for federal purposes, depending upon your income bracket. But frankly, there have been no major federal overhaul yet. There has not been a sweeping federal law that eliminates capital gains on gold and silver across the board. This is what we got to work for, because you should not have the ability to tax money. And Ron Paul really did that well.
This bill will only exempt from capital gains the collection of the sale of gold and silver coins. So to me, that's picking winners and losers. The people who decide to invest in gold and silver coins won't be taxed. The people who decide to invest in the stock market or real estate will be taxed.
Yeah, I understand your point, but the important point is stocks are not money, and gold and silver is money. Money is different than stocks and bonds, and money's been different, and you shouldn't have to tax money.
Most of the action has really been at the state level, and that's where most of our work is also being for Citizens for Sound Money, because we are watching something very subtle but incredibly important that's happening across the country, and it has to also happen across the world, since states are quietly removing taxes on buying and selling gold and silver. Not because they suddenly love precious metals, because they don't understand them at all anyway, but because they know the dollar is losing purchasing power and people are looking for real alternatives, and states are now stepping up to, maybe not in a perfect way, but they're providing them. And so it's a grassroots from the bottom up. At the federal level, nothing has changed. Gold and silver still taxed as collectibles, but at the state level, that trend is unmistakable. Sales taxes are being removed, as they should be. Capital gains taxes are being removed, as they should be. And the language is shifting. Lawmakers are calling gold and silver money again. That's huge. That's huge. And that doesn't mean that a currency reset happens the next day, but it is a marker. It's a pattern shift. And when governments start clearing the path back to sound money, it tells you that they see the same cracks that we do, or at least they see how the public is feeling about it. And they're preparing the legal framework for what comes next. And we have to have a say in that legal framework, because most politicians do not understand money or what sound money is. So I don't look at these laws kind of as a timer. I look at them more as a pattern and a signal. And a signal that we're further along in this transition than, I don't know, maybe anyone in power is willing to admit. And together we can push this over. So let's do it. Let's come together in community on not just a local level, but that's a place that all of us should start. We also have to do this globally so that there's really no place that can be abused and we can take our power back. And Pepito 6326 asks, hi, Lynette, keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing up. You give me a reason to keep up the good work. But I wanted to ask, what do you think about silver bits? Well, I was not familiar with silver bits, so I went in and I did some digging. And for those that are also not familiar with it, it's a South African platform that lets people buy tiny fractional amounts of physical real silver, either as vaulted metal or fully backed digital tokens. So either way, each token represents 1 troy ounce of 0.999 silver that's stored in vaults. It's designed to make silver accessible, liquid, and verifiable at a time when physical supply is tightening, but it doesn't seem that you can actually take physical possession. And even though it's built in South Africa, well, they actually are putting this out on a global, international basis. But you know me, that while this is indeed kind of a good sign because it's part of the global shift toward real assets, it's also taking into account tokenization. And if you cannot take physical possession of the underlying, it doesn't mean anything. This asset backed, if you can't convert it, how do you know that it's real? And the truth is a bigger picture, because platforms like Silverbits they're not popping up like accident. They're emerging because people are losing confidence in fiat and looking for something real and something that they can verify and something that isn't created by a keystroke, though if it's just tokenized and you can't take possession of it, that's exactly what it is. Fractional silver that's vaulted and tokenized. And so it may give you a sense that you are stepping outside the banking system, but you're not. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. If it is not explicitly in your name as the legal owner, you don't own it. So even though Silverbits are built in South Africa, and even though they're trying not to be confined there, and anyone with access to partnered exchanges, well, you could participate. Do you see what I'm talking about? So really, when I'm looking at Silverbits, the concept is like a lot of the other concepts, which is getting you inside of the system. And when a system crashes, if you don't have it in your possession, then there's nothing else that you can do about it. Canyon River 2441 asks, what is HB 2123 in Arizona about? I received a message to call and tell them no, we don't want government in our private gold and silver. And that would be absolutely accurate. So what HB 2123 is it refers to a 2026 bill to establish a state-run bullion depository. And that creates a legal and regulatory framework for Arizonians to store gold and silver with the state. It's based on the 2026 version of the bill introduced by Representative Fink that's titled Bullion Depository Establishment. And what it actually does is amends Title VI of the Arizona Revised Statutes to create Chapter 18, Arizona Bullion Depository. And that includes a legal definition of bullion as refined gold or silver in any form, including coins, authorization to establish a state-regulated bullion depository for secure storage of precious metals, regulatory structure for how the depository would operate as a financial institution, the framework for custody, auditing, and oversight of stored gold and silver. And these mirror similar efforts in states like Texas, which created its own state bullion depository several years earlier. But we have to be very careful because we definitely do want states to adopt gold and silver as money, but what we don't want is we don't want the states taking over as the minter of gold and silver, because then it's subject to abuse, just like what we've been experiencing. But it's a good thing because a state bullion depository it's not trivial. It's It's an administrative move, and it really signals a push toward monetary sovereignty at the state level. And that's the way it's supposed to be. The individual is supposed to be the head of the state. The states are supposed to support the individual's rights, and then the federal government is supposed to be there to support the states' rights, and that's been flip-flopped. So a desire to reduce the reliance on federal systems, and even, I really don't have a big problem with private vaults as long as you know them. We're going to be visiting one here pretty soon. But the infrastructure for parallel or alternative monetary systems, especially if gold and silver really begin to play a larger role in settlement or even savings. I have, this state of Florida bill. Now, the date on this is 1864, but states have been here before, so they know how to do it. And for someone that's watching the systemic markers, this could be and is a meaningful development because states don't build bullion depositories unless they anticipate a future where precious metals are part of the system. But this is what's not in the bill, and I'm gonna do it with you, so I'm kind of holding back, and I'm gonna get my ducks lined up because I want to contact Representative Fink and have a conversation with him. But this is what's not in the bill. It does not change taxation on precious metals. It does not declare gold or silver legal tender, but in Arizona we've already done that. It doesn't mandate public use of bullion. It's about infrastructure, not monetary policy yet. And that's what we have to be a part of, is what does that policy look like from the public's level. But infrastructure is really often the very first step. So there you go with that. Daniel Cassie 1207 asks, I heard that Switzerland just traded some gold for some silver. Did you hear this? Well, I went in to look, and there is no verified evidence that Switzerland, and I'm making the assumption because you weren't really specific, that it was the central bank that would have changed out some of their gold for silver. And even though, they're really, no, it's not accurate. The Swiss National Bank, Customs Authority, or the major Swiss refiners none of them have reported such a transaction. So that goes with that. And thank you so much. Come back to the lives every Tuesday at noon Arizona time and bring those questions. If I don't get to them on that 2.5 hours, I'll get to them afterwards. And until next we meet, look at this difference that we're making together. I love it. Let's change the global monetary world. We can do it. And until next we meet, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.